Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another segment of Asaph Cafe for 2018. This is our third taping, and this time we're on the set of the movie Goldfinger. And affectionately on my left, our aging rocker Emmett. And can you name these characters on the screen before we start?
Well, this one is up there is James.
On the right of the screen.
On the right of the screen.
On the screen right there. Just look at the screen here.
Yeah. Okay, that would be Goldfinger in the far right. That is James Bond, and that is called Odd Job.
Yeah, Odd Job's the Asian fellow with the hat.
Yes.
And he's on the left of the screen, and in the center of the screen is James Bond. And then of course Goldfinger himself, the nasty villain on
definitely.
Goldfinger. You want to start us off?
Yes, Heavenly Father, bless our food and our time together in Jesus' holy name.
Amen.
Yep.
And the Lord will enable me and us to do this.
Yes?
Okay,
do you want any of the secret ingredient or not?
Sure, I'll take some of that. Let me play the theme song. That's the theme.
Interesting. I haven't seen it for a while. I think I've only seen Goldfinger twice.
In the conclusion.
Yep.
That's such a cool song.
It is.
That's the theme of Goldfinger. A singer named Shirley Bassey made that song famous. She was the one that sang the vocal at the beginning of the film. African American singer of the past.
Interesting.
And this show came out, I think, in the early mid '60s.
Yes.
All the Bond shows, and it started out with Dr. No.
Yeah, I remember that one.
And Dr. No had a very young Jack Lord.
Yeah.
He's the actor that went on to play McGarrett later on in Hawaii Five-O. So, what a legacy that. I can't think of the guy who wrote Fleming. Ian Fleming, I think is his name, the creator of James Bond. What a legacy he left. He started with Dr. No, and I can't remember what the second Bond film was.
Was it From Russia with Love or not?
I don't remember, but the third one, probably the most remembered one, is Goldfinger, which is the one that we're on the set of. And of course, these two villains are probably going to be one of the most remembered villains. Odd Job. He had his hat that had like these blades.
He could slice
throw the hat, and like when he did a demonstration on this golf scene here, he threw his hat and it chopped off the head of the statue.
Yes.
And so Goldfinger on the right of the screen, he was just like kind of flexing his muscle, trying to intimidate Bond. And of course, good always triumphs and defeats bad, which is the way it should be. But these villains here, and there's one other villain that'll probably be most remembered. He's not in this movie. He's in the Bond series with Roger Moore.
Yes.
And that's Jaws.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Big, tall fellow with teeth. So these would probably be the three most remembered of all the villains. And of course, Sean Connery was the first Bond, and then they've had a lot of Bonds since. They had Roger Moore, who was considered the most handsome, good-looking Bond. Wait, he was a very handsome guy, Roger Moore. He did a show called The Saint. Have you ever heard of it?
I've heard of it, never watched it.
It went something like this, if I can remember.
As you guys can probably guess, being a big science fiction fan, my favorite of all the Bond films was called Moonraker. Have you guys ever heard of Moonraker?
Yeah.
I don't remember the whole plot, but if I remember, this, of course, big villain, kind of similar to Goldfinger, someone else, wanted to rule the world.
They all want to do that.
Yeah, but anyway, James Bond had to go aboard the space station via the space shuttle. You know, we used to have the space shuttles. This was in 1979. There was an unknown orbiting space station that no one else knew about. And they wanted to create a perfect race or perfect something, but they also wanted to rule the world. And then some people from America or from Britain, they had to dispatch soldiers with laser guns and spacesuits to fight the bad guys. And there was this laser war with lasers, and even James Bond was firing a laser gun. Finally, what they wanted to do was wipe out the entire Earth and have a perfect society in space. So they had these globes that had some sort of very deadly bacteria or virus on them. And James Bond had to fly the space shuttle and fire lasers from the space shuttle and get them all.
Oh, that was in the Moonraker series.
Yes, that was the movie Moonraker. It came out around 1979. That was my favorite because of the lasers.
Was that with Roger Moore?
I think so. I also liked Octopussy. That was in the 80s.
I didn't
84.
see all. Yeah, I'm familiar with it.
Yeah.
But I didn't see all the Bond.
Yeah, but that was a good one. That was I can't remember what it was about though, but I liked it.
Okay. I'm gonna stop on that note. And also, getting back to spy shows. Let's see. The actor Timothy Dalton was one of the Bonds. Pierce Brosnan, the actor that played on Remington Steele, he was one of the Bonds. And they got a newer one, Daniel, I can't think of his last name, he's the middle-aged actor, plays the older Bond. And he did Skyfall was one of his Bond films, the first one I believe.
Interesting.
Yeah, this was an older Bond, and it depicted James Bond in his later years, and his shooting skills were not quite up to snuff as when he was younger, and that's what made it believable. But he still always won. Yeah. And Miss, what's her name? Miss Penny, Money Penny or Penny or whatever, the secretary gets killed in the Skyfall one, because see what it was is the villains, they were younger, and so they had all the technology, the computers and things like that. And so it was harder for Bond's character to stop the bad guys because they had the technology. They were more updated. Yes. And that was an interesting plot line. So, I'm gonna...
I always liked all his props not his prop, but his gadgets that the federal government of England would give him. Remember his office, they would call him in and say, we have a very special mission for you. You've got to do this and that. But they gave him gadgets. Yeah. Like one time, I don't remember which one, but he had a watch. They gave him this watch, but it was really a laser. His boss was saying, it's really a laser. Also, this pen shoots bullets or something. It's a very dangerous pen. It looks like a pen, but it's actually a weapon.
I think I remember that.
Yeah.
I think I remember that.
Yes. I always like that. That kind of thing. But my favorite is Moonraker, definitely.
That's your favorite Bond film?
Yes, because of the lasers. That was the first Bond film I ever saw, as a matter of fact. My mother and I, we went to see it in Tucson, Arizona in 1979.
That was the first Bond film you ever saw?
Yes.
You didn't see Goldfinger and all that first in the earlier ones?
No, I didn't, because I was just a kid,
Oh, yeah. That's right. Yeah, that would make sense. And you got hooked on it?
Yeah, I did. I really enjoyed.
Well, in the 60s, there were a bunch... Take a bite of this.
Yeah.
Not bad. There were a bunch of spy shows in the 60s.
Yeah.
They had The Man from U.N.C.L.E. And they had Get Smart. That was supposed to be a parody.
Yeah.
I'll take one of those napkins. That was supposed to be a parody, comedy parody of James
Huh.
Bond. Get Smart.
Uh-huh.
And then they had The Saint,
Uh-huh.
and I played that earlier. And let's see, there were some other spy shows. Oh, I Spy. And I Spy was probably the best
Yeah.
for television.
I never
What
watched,
was- What was groundbreaking? The two main groundbreaking things about I Spy, it had a melody that went like this. Let's see if I can remember it. You recognize this?
No.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. I never watched any of those shows, actually. The
Well, what
Man
was
from-
groundbreaking about I Spy,
Uh-huh.
Bill Cosby was one of the main characters, a very young Bill Cosby.
Oh.
He was the first African American to have a lead role in television in the 60s.
Interesting.
That's what made it groundbreaking. And Robert Culp was the main actor.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if you remember him or not.
Nope.
But he was the main character, and then Bill Cosby,
Uh-huh.
Cosby's character. And then another thing that was groundbreaking about I Spy, they were the first spy show to actually go on location around the world.
Interesting.
They would go to places like Vietnam, they'd go to places like Europe and so on, and they would shoot scenes, whereas all the other spy shows would be shot in a studio.
Interesting.
So that's what made it so groundbreaking.
Yep.
And it worked.
You know, we were just talking about this before the show. I honestly think, I'm not trying to get political, you know, it's still a fun show. It's not really political, but I really think that there probably are in the federal government, both in England and American governments, there are actually spies and secret agents who are fighting real villains. We just don't get to see it because the government has so many secrets that they're not going to tell us about. You know, warfare isn't just all on the battlefield. I wouldn't be surprised if somewhere, higher up in the CIA or FBI or something, or somehow in the federal government hasn't hired secret
But see,
agents we don't
really,
know
yeah,
about.
We don't really know, but we can use our imagination with the movies that they left us. Ian Fleming, I think, was the creator of James Bond.
Yeah, because even I saw there were books on World War II that were kind of declassified. There were, even during World War II, there were a whole bunch of spies and saboteurs and things, you know, on the back lines, just in the back. They weren't fighting in World War II, but there was a kind of a secret type of thing, network of spies and saboteurs. We never heard about it. It was all classified, you know. So it wouldn't surprise me, you know. And the government has so many, secrets and so many gadgets and so much technology they're never telling us. And I wouldn't be surprised if there is some sort of James Bond out there who has a watch, but it's really a laser and maybe a deadly pen or something like this. You never know, you know.
Yeah, but in the meantime, we can use our imagination.
Yes.
You recognize the song?
No, I don't.
Smoke Gets in Your Eye.
Oh, yes. I should have recognized that because it was on the Easy Listening station a few days ago. I remember that, yeah.
The melody.
Yes. Oh, by the way, it's just wonderful. I still love Lawrence Welk. They did a wonderful show last week on Lawrence Welk.
Okay, I didn't see it last
It
week.
was very good. It was one of the ones that got me into Lawrence Welk. I remembered it from 1984. It was just some easy listening, and I think tribute to Stars or Broadway. I can't remember, but it had some really nice, easy listening with champagne music, and it's one of the ones I first recorded on audio tape when I was 15 or so.
I see.
No, I was 16, sorry. Just really nice.
Smoke Gets in Your Eye. I'm gonna stop right there. But anyway, how was your Christmas and everything?
Oh, it was very nice. Like I said, again, my mother came down. We went to China buffet and that kind of. Yeah, that was really nice. And
yeah, and you had a good New Year's.
Oh, yeah, it was average. I just watched the Twilight Zone. I went to church. Of course, I went to church Christmas Day too, but I also went to church. And then I watched some of the Twilight Zone marathon. You know, it was on Sci-Fi.
Was that on MeTV?
No, Sci-Fi Channel. The Twilight Zone marathon. They always do it on New Year's, and I really like that because I love the Twilight Zone.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't play some of the episodes I wanted to see, though. I was kind of disappointed. Maybe they played them at night, or maybe when I was away at church or something.
Here's your theme.
Yeah. They cut out some parts of it, too, that kind of disappointed me. Like, one of my favorite... Oh, what is one of my favorite ones? Good gravy. Oh, I'm trying to think of some of my favorite ones. The only thing I can think of... I like the one where they went into there was that dime store mannequin that came to life.
I barely remember that one, yeah.
And experienced life on the outside for 30 days, but she was being lured back to the department store, and all the mannequins started to move and talk to her, and it's fascinating. Then she had to become a mannequin again. She was a day late.
Okay.
That was a cool one.
Well, one of the episodes I found kind of interesting, there was this card shark guy. He was gambling in this room, and there was this old man nearby, and the old man wanted to win some money for a reason, but he didn't have the money. So the card shark decides to let the old man win, right?
Yeah.
So he lets the old man. I mean, he's really old, like 80. He lets him win. Then the old man takes the money, and he goes into this laboratory where they had these younger bodies, and so he pays the big fee, and the old man is transferred onto the younger new body. He's all young again. And he goes, "Look at me, honey." His wife was still old because he hadn't gotten to the body yet.
Yes.
And so the young guy was just flipping around and enjoying being young again. And then all of a sudden the wife got scared. She started screaming. She decided she didn't want to be young. So the husband sacrifices his wanting to be young, and he goes back to being old to be with his wife. So
interesting.
That was...
Yeah. I think I vaguely remember that one. Vaguely.
Yeah, I'm not as familiar with the Twilight Zone. I don't watch all of those, but...
yeah, it's oftentimes too late at night for me, and I keep forgetting, but yeah. Anyway, but one of my other favorite ones was about the one with the dummy, the ventriloquist dummy.
Oh, okay. I don't...
Oh, it was so cool. There was this guy who was a ventriloquist, but he thought that his dummy was alive and would talk to him.
I think I know of that one.
But it turned out it was true. This dummy was alive and was talking to him, and he tried to get rid of it, and he couldn't. And, you know, it was because he had talked, and he moved his mouth and everything, and talked so many jokes and everything, that the dummy became alive. And the dummy made a proposition to this poor man that they would switch places. The dummy would become the actual ventriloquist, and this poor man became the dummy or something. They switched it in this weird... Oh, it was wild.
What?
That was cool. There was another one I liked. It was called... I can't remember what it was called. It was on the Twilight Zone, the marathon on New Year's Day, where... I have a lot of them on tape. I recorded. I'm going to dig some out, but there were these people in this strange room or strange place, and they didn't know how they got there, who they were. One was a major general. Another one was a clown. Another one was a ballerina, and another one was a hobo.
Okay.
What did they have in common? We didn't know. And they were trying to escape, and they couldn't. They heard this bang, bang of a bell or some weird thing. Like, what is this? Finally, one of them, the major, was able to escape. He found out what it was, this huge, high, ceiling type of vault, and just this enclosed round room, and they didn't know what was going on. He fell out. What it was a barrel of toys. They were all small dolls for children. They didn't even know that, and then this lady said, hey, and this young little girl said, hey, one of the dolls got out of the bin. Said, oh, please put it back. So they put it back. And they were for an orphanage. And so during the Christmas time, this semi-old woman, or just this woman would ring her bell and say, dolls for sale, dolls for the children, They were all dolls. They didn't realize it, but that was fascinating.
Okay.
It's hard to describe, but that was a cool one. I liked that one a lot. Oh, don't forget the one. It was played by Bill Mummy, from Lost in Space fame.
I know of that one.
Yeah, that was cool. It was this little boy, I can't even remember, Anthony.
Okay.
He had this town, and all the adults were terrified of him because he could do anything he wanted with his mental powers. He could kill people, he could destroy things, he could make all these...
Moomy's character?
Yes, Bill Moomy's character. He could even have the strangest TV, and basically he would wish people that he didn't like into the cornfield if they were thinking bad thoughts about him.
Oh, he can zap him into a corner?
Yes. And it had a very terrifying ending. You see, someone was having a birthday party. He was about 40 years old, and he wanted to play a Perry Como record, and this little boy, Anthony, was just playing the piano or something. It was a Moon Glow. Have you ever heard of this theme? A Moon Glow, da 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 da. And anyway, he said, no talking while the music's playing. He doesn't like talking, he doesn't like singing. So, and this poor man couldn't even play his own Perry Como album. And there was no real scotch in the village left, because just a couple of bottles of scotch and one rye. And then he was said, won't someone end this? I'm gonna think bad stuff. Someone take a club or a thing and kill him and get this over with. And finally, guess what? This Anthony turned him into a jack-in-the-box. He just turned him in and then wished him into the cornfield.
And turned him into a jack-in-the-box.
Yes.
I didn't see that episode.
And everyone was saying, but it's really good. And then finally was saying, hey, then he started to make it snow. And his father said, are you making it snow, son? He said, yeah, I'm making it snow. And his father said, but the crops will be destroyed, Anthony, but it's really good what you're doing. It's good what you're doing. And tomorrow's going to be a really great day. So Anthony, this little 9-year-old boy, 6-year-old boy, just ruled everything. That was a cool episode.
I've not seen that episode.
Oh, it was, yeah, I loved it.
Playing some Chopin while talking about Billy Moomy.
Yeah. One of the ranchers or someone was even mean to him, so even Anthony said, so I made him go on fire. Oh, wow.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
They didn't show that in the episode, but he was talking about that. That old farmer, he was, he killed the dog because the dog was barking, and it was wild. The dog just fell over dead with his own thoughts,
See, I didn't see that episode.
Oh, it was really cool, yeah.
I know they show that strangest things happen on the commercial of Me TV,
Yeah.
But I've never seen that episode.
Yeah.
I always think of Billy Moomy Lost in Space.
Same here.
What a great legacy that he left.
Yeah, he did.
I was watching Lost in Space on the computer just last night.
Cool.
What people don't know is that Lost in Space had 2 pilots.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
The first pilot was there was no Dr. Smith.
Yeah.
The first pilot.
Uh-huh.
And that was that episode where they went on that planet and there was this big Cyclops monster with his one eye. It was like this huge giant. And he was trying to get Dr. Robinson in this cave, and he was trying to get Major Don West. Major Don West takes like this it's like a flare, and he throws the flare at the monster, and the monster steps on the flare, and so he goes, ah! Cool. So they knew that the monster could feel pain. Meanwhile, Billy Moomy's watching, and he's in the Jupiter too. Well, this was the Gemini.
Yes.
This first pilot. And he's looking in the telescope, he's like, Mom, I see Dad, he's in trouble.
Yep.
And, this big Cyclops, he's like this big giant. And he was trying to get Moomy's father, so Billy Moomy says, well, first June Lockhart said, well, there's nothing we can do, we just have to wait. And Billy Moomy says, oh, I know what we can do. So he grabs a laser and he runs out. Will, come back, come back. Yeah. His mom's telling him to come back. He runs out there to go save his father, right?
Yeah.
So Will Robinson climbs up this hill and he sees that big Cyclops monster going after Major West and his father. And he takes that laser and he shoots it.
Yeah.
And he goes, ah! And it falls backwards and dies.
Mm-hmm.
And so, Dad! Wow! So they like hug and get reunited, and then his father looks at him and says, don't you ever leave your post again. But I guess where I'm going with that story, I had a point, I don't know where I was going with it, but anyway, I was watching Lost in Space last night on the computer, and they had 2 pilots. In the second pilot, they used footage from the first pilot and then they added more scenes with Dr. Smith being
Yeah.
trapped in the
Yeah,
Jupiter
yeah.
2. They called it the Jupiter 2 this time instead of the Gemini 12,
Yeah.
I believe it was. And their original mission, well, they were both going to go to Alpha Centauri.
Yes.
But on the first pilot, it would have taken 98 years to get there.
Yep.
The second pilot would have taken 5.5 years. So I think they just did some rewrites on those
Yeah.
pilots, probably. And they added Dr. Smith, who gets trapped in the Jupiter 2
Yes.
and causes the ship to go off course into that meteor storm.
Yeah.
What a fun series.
Yeah.
Lost in Space. It was a very fun series.
Yeah.
But anyway, getting back to the spies, as I mentioned, I Spy was groundbreaking because it was the first of its kind for the time.
Yes.
And I'm trying to see if I can think of some other spy shows of the past that they had. Oh, the Wild Wild West.
That was a good one.
That was sort of in that spy
Yes,
genre.
it was.
It was like a Western, but it was kind of like a secret agent. And let's see if I can figure it out.
I like that one. I like that one. You know, actually, I was a couple of nights since I was doing chores on Saturday.
Something like that.
I was able to stay up enough, late enough to watch Battlestar Galactica, but now it's Galactica 1980.
Oh.
I didn't care for Galactica 1980. It's where they found Earth finally. Yeah, it just wasn't as good. Did you ever see Galactica 1980? It's on
No, I
MeTV
didn't.
now.
Is it?
Yeah, Battlestar Galactica and then Galactica 1980, where they find Earth. They finally find Earth. Most of the ships have been destroyed. Commander Dam is very old, and they just have one other ship, and I think there's a young boy who was a genius at 13 years old, Dr. something or another. I don't remember. They find Earth, but they realize that they can't really do anything. The Earth doesn't have the technology to help them defeat the Cylons. So they try to rehabilitate the Earth people and try and improve their culture. And it didn't work. It didn't work for me. It didn't have any of the space battles. I thought it was just it just kind of fell apart, I thought. I didn't care for it.
Is Lauren Green still in this one?
Yes, and Galactica 1980, yes.
And how about Richard Hatch? Is he on there too?
No, he is not. No. Boxy's grown up, though. Boxy became, a colonial warrior, but he's grown up in this one. I don't know, it didn't work for me. Do you remember one of the last episodes of the original Battlestar Galactica?
I didn't watch that series a whole lot.
Yeah, it was called In the Hands of God. They had found this old place, kind of a place just near one of the spaceships, and it had just, it was this bubble dome where you could see space and to listen to transmissions or whatever. They were, of course, at the big space battle between the Cylons and the Galactica, and they decided to even take out a couple of base stars, which is really cool. But they had found Earth. They needed Baltar's help to help, infiltrate one of the bases, one of the Cylon base ships. They needed that, so Commander Dama agreed to release Baltar from the prison barge. But Baltar was exiled to this one planet because they were approaching some planets.
Okay.
There's one that was habitable, but he wasn't allowed any communication except a shortwave radio for shortwave range. But they received a transmission just at the end of that episode when they had defeated the Cylons and blown up the base ships, or one base ship or something. They received a transmission. They weren't even paying attention. They went to a victory party, and it was where man first landed on the moon. Remember in the 60s where man first landed on, we had the first lunar landing? They said, the Eagle has landed. So they did find Earth.
Okay.
And guess what? Baltar was exiled to the planet Earth. Perfect fit for But they did find Earth, they just didn't realize it was Earth. So they went around the galaxy again. In 1980, they finally found Earth again. It's just,
Only to go and find their own enemy there, huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
Exile their old enemy there, yeah.
Well, like I said, I haven't really watched a lot of Twilight Zone. I haven't watched a lot of Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah.
But
I loved it as a kid. When I first saw Battlestar Galactica as a kid, I didn't like it. I saw the pilot or part of it. It didn't make any sense. But a couple of weeks later, I thought, I'm going to give this show another chance. And then I loved it.
got hooked on it, huh?
Yeah. Even the kids at school called me a Battlestar Galactica fanatic, because I was. And I would always play Battlestar Galactica at home. And
Is that your favorite science fiction
series? Yes, it is.
series? Even more than Star Trek, huh? Battlestar Galactica?
I think it's a tie, but if I were on a desert island, I think I would prefer Battlestar Galactica somehow.
Okay.
It's just amazing. Just great lasers and everything. But Galactica 1980, that was kind of a flop, I thought.
So it kind of like picked up where the original Battlestar left
Yes,
off,
yeah.
And then some of the younger characters are older now?
Yes, yes.
Okay, I see. I see.
Because they went there in 1980. Of course, it was filmed in 1980. It just didn't work, yeah, for me.
What about Space 1999?
I liked that a lot. Oh, I loved that.
I was just thinking about that. Maybe if we do a second show, we should be on the set of Space
Now,
1999.
that'd be a great idea. That'd be a great
Be
idea.
on the moon. I'll have to look on the pictures and
Oh,
see.
I loved Space 1999. And that was a wonderful... It was a scary show, too. Something just fascinating. Just, yeah, the moon left its orbit and went to
Well,
outer
it's
space.
because of an explosion
Yes,
that
yes.
caused that in the original pilot episode.
Yes.
A bad guy got in there and triggered off this explosion, which caused the moon to drift off the orbit, and they were lost in space but on the moon. And that's basically the premise of Space 1999.
It was a great show.
Now, getting back to Goldfinger, let's see. It's hard to explain what the plot is with this particular film here. Or like a lot of these Bond films. Basically, he worked for the British Secret Agent and British Secret Service, I'm sorry. And all the Bond characters, they would have to figure out a way to stop whatever bad guy was in the film, whether they're trying to take over the world or have nuclear weapons or some crazy thing like that. But I think this will probably be the most remembered
Interesting.
of all of the Bond films. This scene, this is when they're out in the Gulf,
Uh-huh.
course there, and Goldfinger is demonstrating how powerful he is to Bond by having Oddjob throw his hat with the blades on it, and it chops off the statue's head. And of course, Bond is not intimidated by it. But I think they've done something like, what, 10 Bond films?
They've
or
done
more?
so many, I
Probably
can't
more
even,
than that, yeah.
I don't like the newer Bond films that came out a few years ago. I didn't.
Well, they're just more modernized for our time in the computer age and what have you. But I think that these early Bond films, they were more spy shows. I think. You know, when something is updated and it gets too modern, it seems to take away from the original to me.
I know.
You know, and stuff like that. But that's just my opinion.
Oh, yeah,
I'm
I
not
agree.
an actor, so, you know. But this was quite the film.
Yep.
And, of course, he dies a very violent death in this movie.
Who does?
Goldfinger.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, he's fighting with Bond, and they're on a Cessna plane, and Goldfinger gets sucked out of the window of the plane.
Oh, I think I remember that. Yeah, yeah.
And stuff like that. But, and he had like golden bullets. He'd shoot you with a golden bullet, or he'd turn your body gold, you know, something like that. But
why do I keep forgetting common names of movies today? Moonraker. Today I can't. Something's wrong with my memory. I can't even remember half of anything today. In Moonraker, James Bond kills the main villain with this little. It was near the spaceport, basically.
Because they were in space, right?
Right in the space station. He was just near the space port where you could just be exited out into outer space. Well, James Bond used his wrist just like this and put a dart right through the enemy's body, the main villain body or something, and just took him into the airlock and said, take a giant leap for mankind, and shot him into the airlock, shot the villain into space. Yes.
Wow.
And then his girlfriend, or the woman there, said, what happened to this other person, that villain? I can't even remember his name now. Oh, Dex or whatever. He had to fly. So cool, just James Bond being so cool. Yeah, he had to fly. That's funny.
Yeah. Do you remember how Bond liked his drinks?
Yes, shaken, not stirred.
Right. Shaken, not stirred.
Yep.
You know, when I used to hear that line, I know that's a pretty iconic, classic line.
Mm-hmm.
But if you think about it, technically, what's the difference between shaken and stirred?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
I think what the difference is it just sounds cool.
Yeah, it does.
To
Yeah,
say
it does.
Shaken, not stirred. Iconic line.
Yes.
And that's become an iconic line in the Bond films
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Shaken, not stirred.
Yeah.
How do you like your drink, Mr. Bond?
Yeah.
But my personal favorite, of course, is Sean Connery. I
Uh-huh.
mean, everybody has their favorite Bond.
Mm.
But there's no question that Roger Moore was probably the most handsome
Yeah, I think he was my favorite actually.
of all of
Mm-hmm.
them. And of course, most people probably like the fight scenes between Jaws and.
Oh yes, yes.
Like that scene when Jaws was
Mm-hmm.
slapping that secret agent lady around.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, because
Don't
he's like
remember
7
that,
feet tall,
yeah.
he was like
Mhm.
slapping her, and then he was gonna like bite her in
Mm-hmm.
the neck with his teeth, and
Oh yes.
then James Bond walks in there because he heard the lady screaming,
Uh-huh.
and he took this like lamp and he crashed it over Jaws' head. It didn't even faze him. So they get into this fight scene, and they're fighting in the train, and Bond is trying to save
Yeah.
this woman,
Was that?
and Bond
Yes.
kicks him out of the window of the train, and he just gets up and just wipes his jacket like nothing happened.
Was that where they were at the Mardi Gras and Jaws was dressed up as in a Mardi Gras costume or something?
I don't know about the Mardi Gras, but I mean that was an early scene there.
Oh, okay, because that was in Moonraker. Jaws was in Moonraker.
Yeah, well, they used that character, yeah, but I mean,
Yeah.
this is the earlier Bond film
Okay.
when he was. I can't remember the name of the film, but it was
Interesting.
quite a movie. But I can't say too much about the Bond because, as I stated, it's hard to talk about what the synopsis of some of these movies
I know.
are because they're so high tech.
They are, yeah.
And stuff like that. But I think most people will say that Sean Connery was probably the most manly of the Bonds.
Yeah, yeah.
He'll probably go down in history as the rough, tough, rugged
Mm-hmm.
Bond. You know, he got his hands
Oh,
dirty,
yeah.
as the old saying says. You know, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, he was a total unknown, Sean Connery.
No, I did not
Prior-
know that, huh?
I was reading about a little bio about his career. Prior to this movie here, when they cast him to be James Bond, he was a total unknown. And when they did Dr. No, I believe it was,
Mhm.
leading up to Goldfinger, it just catapulted him on the map.
Yep.
And he went on to do some great
Mhm.
other movies and stuff like that. But yeah, I think he'll always be remembered as Bond,
Uh-huh.
James Bond.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And of course, when we're talking about updating stuff, they have, you know, they always have the Bond ladies.
Yes.
And they're just a little bit more too fancy now. these
Yeah,
days and
yeah.
stuff. But that's the life of a secret agent, I
Yep.
guess, at least in the movies. If
Yep.
you're a spy, you know, you have to have your martini,
Oh,
your
yeah.
smoke, and your gun, and,
Yep.
you know, to make it believable.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, who's going to want to watch a Bond who's like Captain Kangaroo or
I
something,
know,
you
I know.
And do you know 40 minutes have already gone by?
Interesting.
Yeah, it's just amazing how time flies. You know, speaking of this actor that plays Goldfinger, it's funny how he's such a bad guy because in that movie with Dick Van Dyke, he was the good guy.
Mhm. Don't know that movie.
I think it was Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
I've heard of Chitty Chitty, but I've even heard the theme on the easy listening to Chitty Chitty, but I never watched it.
Yeah, I think this actor that plays Goldfinger was in that film, and I think he was a good guy in
Mhm.
that one. Let's see if I can figure it out. Let's see.
Yeah, on KOZ FM in Lewiston, Idaho, I remember they would sometimes play a version of Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. Yeah, I remember that. That's one of the first songs I heard on that station. Yep. Boy, I miss that station. KOZE FM Lewiston. I've been playing some of that music on my show, and I miss it. See,
Okay.
when I went back to Lewiston, trying to move there.
I remember you mentioned that. That was an easy listening station,
Yes,
wasn't it?
yes. For a while, they had it on the Weather Channel and the backdrop.
Mhm.
They had all those old tapes, but then they just quit the whole thing because it was run by about 3 old men, and someone was trying to make the old man happy, but the old man died or something. So they turned that station KOZ FM into a rock and roll station. I was bummed. Why couldn't they have just re-recorded all those old tapes onto something else and kept playing all that library of music? Because they had a lot of music, you know. Just keep it on permanently. It was beautiful.
Maybe they weren't able to when the
Yeah.
elderly gentleman passed. And
Yeah,
maybe he had a certain way of doing things. I don't know.
Yeah, who knows? Yeah.
Because usually, when there's an organization going on, whenever somebody retires and the new chief comes, they always make these changes
Yeah,
instead of
yeah.
sticking to what they already had.
Yeah.
And I guess that's normal, you know.
But I miss that great music. I'm just glad I have it on tape, and I've been able to play it on my show, you know, to people remember it, you know.
Did you start taping your show for 2018 already?
Not yet, no.
When are you going to start your...
Probably next week, I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, for those who don't know, Emmett has his own show called The Awful Truth About Society. That's it,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Yeah. And he'll start taping his first show for 2018 soon.
Yep.
And you're not changing the format at all, right?
No,
You're just
not at
gonna
all.
keep on-
Yes.
Okay. Well, for those who are aware of Emmett's show, I'm
Yeah.
sure they'll be glad to know that.
Yep, yep.
But I thought you would have already started by now.
No, I thought we had to do some volunteer. I've been kind of busy, and especially with some other things, doctor appointments, and you know, it turns out we don't even have to do volunteer work here anymore, or have a fee, a $20 because they're phasing them out. So yesterday I was just able to sign the program contract, and then I'll
You mean to start your
Yes.
2018 year?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And I think Scott has started Wake Up Missoula already for 2018, and of course we've started the
Yeah.
cafe as of
Yes.
last week. We were on the set of I Love
Yes.
Lucy last week
Mm-hmm.
for our first taping, and then the second taping was the Super Friends.
Yes.
And this is the third taping. We're on the set of Goldfinger, and if we do number 4, I think we'll go to the moon with Space
Yes,
1999.
That was a great show.
So, yeah, we lost the actor that played on Space 1999 recently, Martin Landau.
Martin Landau, yeah.
And he was probably going to be best remembered for Mission Impossible, which fits in that spy genre
Yes,
too.
yes.
Let me see if I can figure it out.
I never watched Mission Impossible either. Yeah, I never watched that. Didn't they make a movie of that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought they did.
Something like that.
Yep.
But, yeah, you don't know that thing, do you?
No, I know of it, yeah, but I just never watched the show, you know.
Right. All right, I'm going to play a song. Tell me if you know this one. It sort of fits in that genre there. You recognize it?
Nope.
I'll give you a hint. Dick Van Dyke is a star.
Don't know.
It's a mystery. Doesn't it sound like a murder mystery?
Yeah, it kind of does, but I don't know. I give up.
Okay. Diagnosis Murder is the name of that.
I heard of it, never watched it either.
Yeah, that was it wasn't necessarily a spy, but it was a murder mystery. And Dick Van Dyke was the star. He
Interesting.
played the surgeon, doctor, that always seemed to get into something like Murder, She Wrote.
Yeah.
You know, Murder, She
Yeah, I
Wrote,
never liked
she
that.
was
I never liked that
She
show.
was a writer, just
Yeah.
a author, a writer. But she'd always find herself getting into these mysteries.
Yeah.
And had to solve crimes. Same with Dick Van Dyke. He was just a doctor that would get into situations, you know, like if a dead body was sent to the hospital, he'd have to figure it out why that person died. And he'd end up
I always thought Murder, She Wrote was a stupid concept, so I never watched it. I thought, oh boy, this is...
Really?
Yeah, I never liked Murder, She Wrote, those other things.
Yeah, that was one of the biggest shows of the 80s, I believe it was.
Oh, yeah.
Excuse me. Excuse me.
That's all right.
Didn't want to come up there. But anyway, yeah, that it was kind of the same synopsis. She just was an author, right?
Yeah.
Solve crime.
Yeah.
And Magnum PI. That was
that was no thing, not for me. Yeah.
Let's see if I can figure it out.
Oh, you know, one disappointing thing. I'm glad I have all the episodes of Alf on DVD. A friend of mine got that for me. But, you know, they don't have Alf on Me TV anymore. Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
I'm disappointed. I wish they would bring that back to Me TV.
Something like that. Something like that. Something like that.
Yeah.
Magnum PI, that was a theme song.
Yeah.
I'm just picking it up by ear.
Mhm.
But, you know, it's kind of hard to just talk about a lot of spy stuff because they didn't have a lot of spy things except for in the 60s.
Yes.
Whereas they had murder mysteries and all the other stuff
Yeah.
that came out in science fiction and what
Yeah,
have
yeah.
you. So I'm just applying all of those
Yes.
to this particular cafe, even though we're on
Uh-huh.
instead of Goldfinger. But I think Sean Connery is probably in his 80s now in real life. So
Mhm.
I doubt he's doing much acting these days.
Yeah.
But I think he should be proud, you know, as an actor. He left the world some interesting characters and gadgets
Yeah.
and scenery. And we can't forget Inspector Gadget.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that. I didn't care for that either. Was Inspector Gadget a cartoon or not?
Yeah.
I thought, yeah.
Yeah, it was a cartoon. And I saw the movie Inspector Gadget. I have to admit, that was pretty good.
I never saw it, yeah.
No, really, it was really
Interesting.
good. Well, you know, Inspector Gadget, how can I explain that? Let's see our time. We're going to be out of time here in about less than 10 minutes.
Wow.
Anyway, basically, Inspector Gadget, well, they don't show this in the cartoon, but in the movie, he was just a security guard,
Mm-hmm.
plain old security guard at a mall. And he gets shot, I believe, by one of the bad guys. And so they do like this surgery on him, and they put these mechanical parts in him in the film, so that's how he becomes part man and machine. And he had the trench coat like the cartoon Inspector Gadget. He had the hat with the little propeller that come out of the hat, and
Yes.
all the other tricks. But it was an interesting film, though, because it was true to the cartoon.
Huh.
And they had that same song, dun, 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 dun,
Interesting.
dun, 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 and so on.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, he gets the girl at the end of the
Yes.
movie, and the guy, the Claw, Dr. Claw, whatever they call him, how he became bad, at least in the film, because they don't show it in the cartoon.
Mhm.
He was just your average bad guy, but something happened where this thing dropped on his hand and crushed his hand.
Yeah.
And so he had to have a mechanical hand.
Mm-hmm.
But if you ever get to see Inspector Gadget, I think you'll like it.
Yeah,
It was
interesting.
just your classic
Yeah.
science fiction cop kind of
Interesting.
drama.
Mm-hmm.
And they had some interesting people.
Mhm.
Matthew Broderick, the movie star, he was the actor that
Mm-hmm.
played
Mm-hmm.
Inspector Gadget in the film. And the scientist saves his life, of course.
Yep.
And then when he gets hurt, and then when they turn him into a machine. And then first he didn't want to be half machine, half man, kind of like the $6 Million Man. You know,
Yes.
Lee Majors first got his
Yeah,
parts.
I never cared for
Remember
that one
And
either.
he rejected that at 1st,
Mhm.
but he goes on to become a superhero. It was the same thing with Inspector Gadget. So, I used to watch the $6 Million Man every day when I was in high school.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, let's see, it had a, see if we can figure out,
Wish I had $6 million.
yeah, really. If I had $6 million, I know what I would do.
Mm-hmm.
I would set up for my future and retirement,
Mhm.
you know, just put some monies aside, maybe get an appreciative fund and let it grow over a 20-year period. And then I ain't gonna lie, I'd get me a few little goodies.
Yeah.
And then I'd take care of my mom, my second mom. She's a real sweetie. And her name is Lois Stevens.
Yeah.
I'm gonna mention mom's name on TV here. Yeah, she's a real sweetie. She's the lady that was on the front cover of my book. The second mom. I'd want to look out for her and take care of her. And I'd probably help people too. But you have to use discernment though, you know, because everybody always says if I were rich, I'd help someone.
Yeah.
But you have to use discernment because a lot of people would probably go on like this.
Yes.
And then they had this thing, you know, the lottery was worth like $500 million. Did you hear about that? And they were saying on these news shows that there'll probably be people doing this.
Oh, yeah.
You know, because that's the biggest lottery I think they've ever had. And somebody actually won that.
Yeah.
Some one lone person in Florida won $500 million, not million, but billion with a B.
Yeah, I tried to play it, but I didn't win anything because the jackpot was so high.
Yeah. Well, you know, I'm not going to tell a person whether they should play the lottery or not, but I admit I've done it just if I spend like $1 or $2.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
But gosh, if I won that much money, I wouldn't even know what to do with it.
Yeah, I know what I would do. I'd move away. I'd move away from Missoula, and I'd buy my own home. I'd have my own.
I'd have a home, yeah, but
I'd love home ownership. I'd probably either move to Lewiston, Idaho, or maybe even St. Helens, Oregon, or some tiny town. You know, and just retire and just enjoy life. And I'd have a lot better wine. I'd have a wine rack with the fine, fine wine and sipping whiskeys. And I'd have fine food. And oh man, it'd be great. Well, have my own home and that kind of thing. And
I think most people would say that. But getting back to helping people, I think you really have to use discernment because there'll be a lot of. They were saying on this news program. There'll be people try to figure out a way to scam money out of you.
There will, oh yeah.
With these ridiculous inventions and things like that.
Yeah.
But I guess it's just good to be content where you're at.
Yeah, definitely.
But, excuse me, I'm not going to lie, I do have the moments I wish I could be rich.
Yeah. I'd love home ownership. I just can't afford my own home, but I'd love home ownership.
Well, you know, usually when you buy a home, it takes 30 years to pay it off.
Yeah, but if I had several $1 million, I could just put the money down, pay it right there, you know, to the whatever agent, you know, just pay it right there to whoever's selling the home
and
to
the
me.
Property tax and all, and just pay it in one lump sum.
Yeah, that's what I would do.
George Clooney, the actor, did something similar to that once. I saw in an interview. You know, he was making like $20 million a picture.
Yeah.
And he didn't buy this big castle. He just bought like this beautiful 5-bedroom house, but it was like really fancy. And he was in an interview, and the interviewer says, "Mr. Clooney, you're a big-time movie star. Why didn't you just make payments on your home like everybody else? How come you just paid your house off in one lump sum?" And I loved his answer. He said, "We should treat every job like it's the last job we're ever going to have in this business." And he made like millions, and he just paid his house off.
Yeah,
that's what I would do.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
When I heard that answer, I thought that's a wise answer. And think about it, you could be on top of the world as a movie star, and have one flop, and all your good movies will be forgotten.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. So just food for thought.
Yeah.
Well, you got any final words you want to say? Because we're really out of time.
I can't think of any. I can't even think of a surreal joke today. I've run out of surreal jokes.
Well,
so
maybe you'll think of one when we're on the moon.
Yes.
Anyway, let's tell the television audience Happy New Year again. It's still the first and a half week of January. Today
it's
is
the 11th.
11th. Yeah, the 11th day of the new year. And this is our third taping. And once again, Emmett and I are on the set of Goldfinger. And I know we sort of got off course with the
that's all right,
spy shows, but that's fine. It'll give us some more things to talk about. And this is a show where every week I invite a guest when we have it, or Emmett and I have a guest, and we just talk about whatever we talk about.
Exactly.
And of course, I didn't do much piano playing in this episode here, but anyway, there's Goldfinger on the right of the screen, and on the left there's Odd Job, the two bad guys.
Yeah.
And of course, the all-American good guy in the center of the screen, James Bond.
Yeah.
So on my left, affectionately our aging rocker Emmett, and I guess if that's it, let's just sign off until our next show, Maranatha. make yourself at home and just enjoy your lunch, and
Yep.
let me shut everything down for you, move, and then we'll talk about the next show.
All right.